I actually, my grandson was at an elementary school, and the strength team came to his school. And if you don't know who the strength team is, they busted boards and ripped phone books, but they told about Jesus. And they invited the kids to come over here. So Michael wanted to come, and so I thought it was actually at the school. So we went over there, but there were no cars, and so I was like, Michael, there's cars over there at that church. I was like, let's go over there. So I walked in the doors of Second Baptist and hadn't left. That was 16 years ago. Yeah. Well, they presented it to the kids, and then when I came here, they presented it, and so I was at that point where I knew I needed something. And so I just kept coming back. Yeah. As CR says, just keep coming back. That's awesome. And God has done a mighty work. Yeah. It's funny because I actually was telling y'all Sunday night, growing up in Georgia in the 60s, everyone was Christian. Whether you went to church or not, that was just who you were. It's like, to me, it was like, if somebody said, are you a Christian? I would say yes. They would say, I would even say I'm Baptist. Mm-hmm. But then when they would say, do you know that you're going to go to heaven when you die? I was the one that said, I hope so, because I was a good person. And it wasn't until I actually had a relationship with Jesus Christ that I realized that it was so much more than just being a good person. And so when I came here, I was in a kind of a dark valley, as you were, but life had just taken turns that I never expected that they would take. And so it just came at a perfect time. But I was thinking, Justin, it's like, even like looking back, there were so many times that God was there, even when I didn't acknowledge that He was there. But looking back, I can see so clearly that He was guiding me and leading me. And even though times got hard and life changed, He was bringing me to Him. And even just recently, I was envious of certain people that were traveling and going and doing and all the things that we can't do right now because of Kenny's illness. But I was going down Collard Valley Road, and you know how the trees just overline the road? Honest to goodness, it was like the road just opened up, and it was like God said, would you change anything? And I was like, no, because if I had that other life, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't know God the way I know God. And so as hard as it was, I would not change anything about my life right now. So, and it's not easy sometimes, but I feel God's presence all the time. And I know that there's a purpose in teaching me maybe patience. And I used to say that about Tom Frawley, that he was brought into my life to teach me patience. Good old Tom. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, but God is just so good. When I went through my divorce, we were married 23 years, and he decided he was in love with someone else. And so I remember, being a child of the 60s again, and seeing my mom, because my dad left when we were kids, and he left my mom with 3 little girls. And so I remember never seeing my mom cry. And she just bucked up and did what she had to do. And so that's what I did. I just bucked up and didn't let anybody see me cry. did what I was supposed to do. But I remember going to Amelia Island because a friend of my daughter's had a condo, and he said I could go down there and just chill for a little while. So I remember going down there, and there were Christian books in the condo that I remember picking up and just skimming through. But I remember specifically going down on the beach and doing my line in the sand.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm stepping over this line and I'm not going back. And so I didn't know what to do at the time because my husband and I worked together. And, it was like all these decisions about what to do about the house, what to do about, just luckily our children were teenagers, so it wasn't what to do about the kids because they were teenagers, but it was what to do about everything. And so I was driving to Jacksonville, Florida. I was going on a shopping spree to make myself feel better. And it was like God said so clearly, turn around. This is what you need to do. And it was like, so I turned around right there on the highway in Jacksonville and went to the condo, packed my stuff, and came back and said, okay, this is what I'm going to run, because we had opened a Bojangles in Kennesaw. And so I was like, I'm going to run this Bojangles, and I'm going to keep the house, and you can have whatever you want out of it. You can have whatever. But it was like, clearly, this is what I was going to do. So even during that, God was leading, because I was driving to Kennesaw every day, and it was just, holy cow, that was ridiculous. So God opened another door for me to go to work with Robert Ledbetter in Rome. And even that, because I was working at TJ Maxx regional office years ago, and before we opened the Bojangles. And Robert Ledbetter Sr. had come in the office to bring a TJ Maxx to Rome. And so I sat and just chit-chatted with him and never thought anything about it. But then after the divorce and everything, I was like, I can't keep driving down there. So there was an ad in the paper that they were looking for a secretary. And so I applied, my very first job interview. And they, at that time, didn't hire anyone that didn't have a college education. And I didn't. But he remembered me from coming down there, and that opened the door for me to have this job that I was at for 22 years. And so it's like you can just see God working all throughout. And so, yeah, even when I wasn't faithful, Missy's Song Sunday, he was so faithful and is still so faithful. Don't give up. There is a purpose, even though we don't understand what that purpose is. But there truly is a purpose in whatever we go through. And God is He's going to bring it to fruition if you just, all of the testimonies that you've recorded and done, it's just what God does in people's life if you just let Him. And so, yeah, I was thinking, I've had 3 grandsons baptized in this church. My grandchildren and my great-grandchildren get to see a grandma that loves the Lord. And my children weren't raised like that. I didn't go to church. They didn't go to church. My sister, my youngest sister, Gina, if the kids got really on my nerves, I'd send them down there and she'd take them to church. But they didn't grow up. I didn't grow up, going to church, and they didn't grow up going to church. But now, I see my grandson and his family in church up in Rome, and my granddaughter Emily comes periodically and with her husband and her family, and I can just see God working in them. My daughter Jamie, they're getting back in church, and I would have never, Justin, thought that my life would be this way, that God would use me in such. I told y'all Sunday when I first was reading the Bible, I called my sister and told her that I was reading the book of Job. Because I had no clue. But, to be where I am now in the Lord, and teaching Sunday school, for crying out loud. I mean, who? But God could do something like that. And leading the small group and Celebrate Recovery. And I tell you, if I could put a plug in for that, that was life-changing. When I volunteered for Celebrate Recovery, it was to help those poor people. But God, as He does, was like, Teresa, I've got so many things for you. Because growing up, because my dad left when I was at such a young age, and you start building those walls of not letting people get too close. And then when my husband left, that wall just kept getting higher. And I realized that there was something that if anyone left the church, I just cut them off. If anyone left just normal, everyday, moving away kind of stuff, they were gone. And it wasn't until going through the step study that I realized that I was doing that out of protection for my own self, that I wasn't allowing people in my life to get close. Even Kenny and I, when we first married, there was still that wall. And we divorced after 10 years of marriage. And then after he started getting where his health was declining, and so I went back because that was where God wanted me to be. And that was at the very beginning of me finding my faith. And so I went back, and the rest is history. If anyone that's going through a trial right now, or unforgiveness, all those things that we just hang on to. So that video that Briam showed with picking up the garbage bag and then handing it to Jesus and then taking it back, was so true about how we are. We give it to Jesus and then we take it right back. And I'm learning at this ripe old age of 70 to give it to Jesus and let Him hold on to it. But if anyone's interested in starting the step study next week, I highly recommend it. It's truly life-changing.